The Book of Daniel, Chapter 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, along with a part of the vessels of the house of God. And he carried them into the land of Shinar, Babylonia, to the house of his God, and placed the vessels in the treasury. And the Babylonian king told Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, to bring in some of the children of Israel, both of the royal family and of the nobility, youths without blemish, well favored in appearance, and skillful in all wisdom, discernment, and understanding, apt in learning knowledge, competent to stand and serve in the king's palace, and to teach them the literature and language of the Chaldeans. And the king assigned for them a daily portion of his own rich and dainty food, and of the wine which he drank. They were to be so educated and so nourished for 3 years that at the end of that time they might stand before the king. Among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief of the eunuchs gave them names. Daniel he called Belteshazzar, the king's attendant. Hananiah he called Shadrach. Mishael he called Meshach. And Azariah he called Abednego. But Daniel determined in his heart that he would not defile himself by eating his portion of the king's rich and dainty food, or by drinking the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might be allowed not to defile himself. Now God made Daniel to find favor, compassion, and loving kindness with the chief of the eunuchs. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear lest my lord the king, who has appointed your food and your drink, should see your faces worse looking or more sad than the other youths of your age. Then you would endanger my head with the king. Then said Daniel to the steward whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove your servants, I beseech you, for 10 days, and let us be given a vegetable diet and water to drink. Then let our appearance and the appearance of the youths who eat of the king's rich dainties be observed and compared by you, and deal with us, your servants, according to what you see. So the man consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days it was seen that they were looking better and had taken on more flesh than all the youths who ate of the king's rich dainties. So the steward took away their rich dainties and the wine they were to drink, and gave them vegetables. As for these 4 youths, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all kinds of visions and dreams. Now at the end of the time which the king had set for bringing all the young men in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king conversed with them, and among them all none was found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they were assigned to stand before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding, concerning which the king had asked them, he found them 10 times better than all the learned magicians and enchanters who were in his whole realm. And Daniel continued there even to the 1st year of King Cyrus. Chapter 2. In the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams by which his spirit was troubled and agitated, and his sleep went from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians, the enchanters or soothsayers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, diviners, to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said to them, I had a dream, and my spirit is troubled to know the dream. Then said the Chaldeans to the king in Aramaic, the Syrian language, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered the Chaldeans, "The thing is gone from me, and the decree goes forth from me, and I say it with all emphasis. If you do not make known to me the dream with its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if you show the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. So show me the dream and the interpretation of it." They answered again, "Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it." The king answered, "I know with certainty that you are trying to gain time, because you see the thing is gone from me, and because you see that my word against you is sure. If you will not make known to me the dream, there is but one sentence for you have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, hoping to delay your execution until the time is changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I will know that you can tell me the interpretation of it." The Chaldean diviners answered before the king and said, "There is not a man on earth who can show the king this matter, for no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such a thing of any magician or enchanter or Chaldean. A rare and weighty thing indeed the king requires. None except the gods can reveal it to the king, and their dwelling is not with human flesh." For this cause the king was angry, very furious, and commanded that all the wise men of Babylon be destroyed. So the decree went forth that the wise men were to be killed, and the officers sought Daniel and his companions to be slain. Then Daniel returned an answer which was full of prudence and wisdom to Arioch, the captain or executioner of the king's guard, who had gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He said to Arioch, the king's captain, "Why is the decree so urgent and hasty from the king?" Then Arioch explained the matter to Daniel. And Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would set a date and give him time, and he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, so that they would desire and request mercy of the God of heaven concerning the secret, that Daniel and his companions should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a vision of the night, and Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. He changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O God of my fathers, who has given me wisdom and might, and has made known to me now what we desired of you. For you have made known to us the solution to the king's problem." Therefore Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus to him, "Do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show to the king the interpretation." Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus to him, "I have found a man of the captives of Judah, who will make known to the king the interpretation of his dream." The king said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, "Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation of it?" Daniel answered the king, "The mysterious secret which the king has demanded, neither the wise men, enchanters, magicians, nor astrologers can show the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what it is that shall be in the latter days at the end of days. Your dream and the visions in your head upon your bed are these. As for you, O king, as you were lying upon your bed, thoughts came into your mind about what should come to pass hereafter, and he who reveals secrets was making known to you what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than anyone else living, but in order that the interpretation may be made known to the king, and that you may know the thoughts of your heart and mind. You, O king, saw, and behold, there was a great image. This image, which was mighty and of exceedingly great brightness, stood before you, and the appearance of it was frightening and terrible. As for this image, its head was of fine gold, its breast and its arms of silver, its belly and its thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay, the baked clay of the potter. As you looked, a stone was cut out with human hands, which smote the image on its feet of iron and baked clay of the potter, and broke them to pieces. Then the iron, the baked clay of the potter, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were broken and crushed together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, so that not a trace of them could be found. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain or rock, and filled the whole earth. This was the dream, and we will tell the interpretation of it to the king. You, O king, are king of the earthly kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the power, the might, and the glory. And wherever the children of men dwell, and the beasts of the field and the birds of the heavens, he has given them into your hand, and has made you to rule over them all. You, king of Babylon, are the head of gold. And after you shall arise another kingdom, the Medo-Persian, inferior to you, and still a third kingdom of bronze, which is Greece under Alexander the Great, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom, Rome, shall be strong as iron, since iron breaks to pieces and subdues all things, and like iron which crushes, it shall break and crush all these. And as you saw the feet and toes partly of baked clay of the potter, and partly of iron, it shall be a divided kingdom, but there shall be in it some of the firmness and strength of iron, just as you saw the iron mixed with earth and clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of baked clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle and broken. And as you saw the iron mixed with earth and clay, so they shall mingle themselves in the seed of men in marriage bonds, but they will not hold together, for two such elements or ideologies can never harmonize, even as iron does not mingle itself with clay. And in the days of these final 10 kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, nor shall its sovereignty be left to another people, but it shall break and crush and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Just as you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. The dream is certain, and the interpretation of it is sure. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and paid homage to Daniel as a great prophet of the highest God, and ordered that an offering and incense should be offered up to him in honor of his God. The king answered Daniel, "Of a truth, your God is the God of gods, and the Lord of kings, and a revealer of secret mysteries, seeing that you could reveal this secret mystery. Then the king made Daniel great and gave him many great gifts, and he made him to rule over the whole province of Babylon, and to be chief governor over all the wise men of Babylon. And Daniel requested of the king, and he appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel remained in the gate of the king at the king's court. Chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar the king caused to be made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, or 90 feet, and its breadth 6 cubits, or 9 feet. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the satraps, the deputies, the governors, the judges, and chief stargazers and treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and the lawyers, and all the chief officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had caused to be set up. Then the satraps, the deputies, the governors, the judges, the chiefs, and stargazers, the treasurers, counselors, sheriffs, and lawyers, and all the chief officials of the provinces were gathered together for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the herald cried aloud, "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, you are to fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall that very hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace." Therefore, when all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, they did fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Therefore at that time certain men of Chaldean descent came near and brought malicious accusations against the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that every man who hears the sound of the horn shall fall down and worship the golden image, and that whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed and set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and these men were brought before the king. Then Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image which I've set up? Now if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, fall and worship the image that I have made. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast at once into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that can deliver you out of my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, it is not necessary for us to answer you on this point. If our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image which you've set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and his facial expression was changed to antagonism against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than it was usually heated, and he commanded the strongest man in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these 3 men were bound in their cloaks, their tunics or undergarments, their turbans, and using their own clothing, and they were cast into the midst of their burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame and sparks from the fire killed those men who handled Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king saw and was astounded, and he jumped up and said to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" They answered, "True, O king." He answered, "Behold, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they're not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like a son of the gods." Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the midst of the fire. And the satraps, the deputies, the governors, and the king's counselors gathered together around and saw these men, that the fire had no power upon their bodies, nor was the hair of their head even singed, neither were their garments scorched or changed in color or condition, nor had even the smell of smoke clung to them. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who believed in him, trusted in, and relied on him. And they set aside the king's command and yielded their bodies rather than serve or worship any god except their own. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, and language that speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their house be made a dunghill, for there is no other God who can deliver in this way." Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon.